Hey guys, Justin Watry here from ProSportsExtra.com. Just going to make a quick little video here, just hanging out for the day. It's a Saturday, or should I say Catterday. But ProSportsExtra.com, NFL, baseball, of course the NBA playoffs are going right now. Pretty wild stuff going on with that. And the big story the past actually couple days or so has been the WWE releases. And again, ProSportsExtra.com has all that stuff going on there, but one of the oddball stories from that is that a writer has been let go. The talent and all that stuff, that's been covered. Everybody knows about that. But here's the story about a writer that was recently let go, who actually, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, just started. So I don't want to butcher the name, but is it Kenice Mobley or Kenice Mobley, something like that? I don't know how to pronounce her name, unfortunately. So that's on me. But the story goes that she actually has, writing background, comedy and stuff. She has a whole bunch of credentials to her name, a whole bunch of credits, so that's good on her. But she was brought into WWE, and they're always looking for writers. They're always looking for different things to do, and that's awesome. And, here's the part where I will kind of defend some of the writers, but not all of them have a pro wrestling background. Some of them have no clue about the product, and they just don't, but they write with comedy, or they have a film background, or they have something like that. And WWE, as an entertainment company, they can put good use to that. So they have different varying roles for everybody. And then, yes, they still have the agents. They still have everybody backstage working. And yes, they have plenty of wrestling people to put together the matches. So for everybody going nuts about the fact that WWE requires no wrestling knowledge to be a writer, that's not even a big deal to me, honestly. That doesn't really even matter to me. I don't really care, because there's wrestling people there. They can put use to everybody there. So if somebody can write really good comedy, or has a great storyline for drama, or whatever it may be, then yeah, you can probably find good use for them. So that's awesome. So I don't care that she had no wrestling knowledge. That has nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, this is where the part kind of breaks down, and where she kind of loses me a little bit here. So she had done an interview before starting. So she got hired, then did the interview, and then had her start date. So that's the timeline we're working here. This interview that everybody's talking about, the podcast, this was done before she actually started. So she went on the podcast and talked about how she was going to be starting soon. And she had said that, WWE said that, you have no wrestling background or no knowledge of the business or the product or anything. That's fine. I believe the quote is perfect. Come on in. And again, I have no issue with that. So this isn't a knock on her for not being a fan. I don't really care. She wasn't a fan, big deal. If she can write storylines and she can write characters and she knows all that stuff, that's great on her. She can be put to use, and she can find a role here, and she can eventually figure everything out. Again, this is where I kind of lose it a little bit, because then she started talking about, almost in kind of a bragging way. I don't want to say it like that, but she's a comedian, so maybe sarcastically, I assume she was trying to just get some laughs and joke around. But she didn't know who the WWE champion was. And again, that's fine. She's not, watching or anything like that. But, she called him Bobby Ashley or Bobby Lashley. She didn't know. All right. He's probably the biggest star right now with the company on the Raw brand, which she is going to be writing for the Raw brand, or she was at the time. So she was going to be a part of the Raw brand. She probably should have known who their top guy was. Then she couldn't figure out what the big stable's name in the big group. She thought maybe the Hurt Business or something like that, she said. But then they had broken up, a couple months ago. So they weren't even a group anymore. And then I don't remember the exact phrase, so whatever. She called him the big giant black man or something like that. And then said, yeah, he's cool, or yeah, we're cool, the Hurt Business. So, probably not the best line of quotes right there. And the worst part for me, it wasn't that, again, she didn't have knowledge. It just seemed like she was almost joking about it. Again, a comedian, I get it. She's probably just going for some laughs, but almost kind of in a mocking way of not having a clue of what she was about to be walking into, and then going on air and saying that publicly. If you didn't know, probably shouldn't have done the interview. You can go into a job not knowing what you're doing, but then going in first day, and then going on, the loudspeaker, or writing in the newsletter, or whatever the company policy is, and telling everyone you have no clue what you're doing. Probably not the best way to go about things. And to me, she kind of outed herself here with this, because during the interview, she actually at one point mentioned, oh, I hope they don't find this interview and oust me, or I hope they don't revoke the offer, or whatever the exact quote was. I forgot it offhand, but I say this at work a lot, but if you have to question if you should be doing something, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you're in the middle of doing something and go look around and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. Well, you probably shouldn't be doing it then. If you have to question as you're doing something, you're kind of outing yourself there that you're not supposed to be doing it. So if she's even speaking out loud that, oh, I don't know if I should be saying this stuff, well, no, you probably shouldn't have been. So again, it's just kind of a weird situation. She ended up getting let go. It wasn't so much because fans reacted and freaked out that, oh my gosh, this is one of our writers for one of our beloved shows. It was the fact that, she went public, or again, before her technically start date, before the start date, she was technically on a podcast talking about it, but probably shouldn't have done the podcast. Without that, she would have just been one of the many others that are in the writer's room or working backstage or whatever and don't have the slightest clue about wrestling. But they don't broadcast that. They don't talk about that publicly and let everybody know that, hey, I don't know who Bobby Lashley is, So kind of outed herself on that. So again, prosportsextra.com, really weird situation all around. WWE released a bunch of people the past couple days, so not just this writer, released a bunch of other people, and it obviously sucks for all of them. So prosportsextra.com has all that covered. And then of course NBA playoffs right now. We're at the Final Four here. I live in Wisconsin, so we're well aware here what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll see how games 3 and 4 going on. Of course, Suns and Clippers. I don't have a clue how that's going to go. I personally think an upset with Clippers would be kind of fun, but it seems like Suns are going to take it. But either way, then we got Stanley Cup, everything else. prosportsextra.com, everybody. Until then, have a good day.